Are our desires random? Are the things that we want the most random, or are they a part of us that's trying to emerge? For the longest time, I used to think that, I used to think about desires as like something selfish, or like a selfish thing that I'm doing for me, that I want for me. But the older I get, the more I realize that without desires, we wouldn't be moving and forward in our lives, and we wouldn't be growing, and we would be stuck at the same place. Because if you don't want anything, then nothing's gonna make you move. Nothing's gonna make you change your life. Nothing's gonna, like, if you don't desire anything, that there's no reason to try to become the best version of yourself. There's no reason to learn or to grow or to like try anything different. And I think desires are God's way of like making us, or like helping us to become who we were meant to be. And I think that the things that we desire the most say a lot about us and where we are in our lives. For example, I used to have a period of like a few years where like the most important thing to me was money. Like anything that I did had to make me money, or like be a potential way for me to make money. And I think it was because like I was in survival mode, right? Like I was in fight or flight, and I was in survival mode, and like money was really the only way that I could think of to get out of survival mode. And so my biggest desires for a long time had to do with money, and with status, and with like being around rich people, like pretending that I'm richer than I am, like high society, all that kind of stuff. But now my desires are very, very different. Now a lot of my desires are about like character and identity and relationships, and about people, investing in people, finding great people, like becoming, well, in order to like be around great people, you have to become a great person first, right? That's how it works. And so I'm using these desires to slowly become the person that I want to be, to become like the wife I want to be, to become the friend that I want to be, to become become the woman that has the character and the identity that would allow her to have these things naturally, to have connection, to have like unconditional love, to have people cheering for her. But in order to have those things, you have to first become that kind of person, and you have to be able to do that for you first, right? Like you have to love yourself unconditionally first. You have to become like the person that you would want to date first. You have to become the friend that you would want to have first. You have to become the person that like is cheering you on and is giving you unconditional love. The only way to get that in the real world is for you to give yourself unconditional love, because the people that we meet are just a mirror. And so I think that our desires are not random. I think that they represent parts of us that are trying to come up to the surface. Maybe parts of us that like were neglected for a while because we just had other priorities, other desires, other things that we saw more important. And I think that pursuing these desires is the way to become a different person, a better person. I don't think that desires are selfish anymore. I think that a good goal and a good desire can lift you higher than anything else. If you have something that you truly want and that you truly believe in, that'll make me move faster than like anything else that's happening in my life. And I think desires are placed in our hearts to like pull us higher and to make us into better people. And I think that they represent that our desires are like a snapshot into a snapshot of how we see ourselves and who we think we are and what we think that we deserve. They're a snapshot of our personalities and of our identities at the time that we have them. And I think that that's a great way to figure out who you are or who somebody else is, right? If you ask them about their goals, or if you ask them about their desires, or if you ask them about like the thing that they want most of all, that'll give you a great snapshot of how they see themselves and who they think they are and what they think that they can have and what's important to them at that point in time. And so I think that your desires are not selfish. I think that they should be pursued to the highest degree possible, that it should not be postponed, that it's not something silly, that you are like indulging yourself into this silly fantasy. I think that desires were like placed in our hearts for a reason, and if you have the desire, that means that you can have that thing or you can become that person in real life. I don't think like God would place like impossible desires in our hearts, like, or desires that it would take like 20 years to get this thing, or like I don't think that. I think that if you have the desire, that's a very clear sign that you can have that thing and that you should pursue it to the highest extent. And you should do everything in your power to slowly shift your frequency and become the kind of person that can hold that desire. And once you can maintain that state, that what you want is real, what you want is like your truth, and it can happen and it will happen, then you're going to get that thing and it's going to change your life in the best way possible. And so that being said, like I do think that we should pursue our goals to the highest extent, but I don't think that like the manifestation is the process of like forcing reality to change. I actually agree with what Neville Goddard said, that like the only thing to change is your self-belief, and that once that changes, everything else is just going to rearrange itself according to like how you see yourself at that point. And so I think you should pursue your goals to the highest extent, but like not in a like I'm gonna force this to happen and I'm gonna work myself to the bone to get it kind of way. Although like you could approach it that way, but I think the real work is a lot more subtle and a lot more nuanced, and 99% of the work is like seeing that desire. Like, to me, if I can visualize myself having the thing that I want and feeling the feelings that I would feel at that point, like I can see the scene clearly in my head and I can feel the feelings that I would feel in that moment that I got my desire, to me, like, that becomes, that's that scene that I saw in my head, that's a future memory. Like, I don't think that we make these things up. I don't think that we can visualize a whole, like, scene out of the blue, like, pull it out of a hat. And, like, I don't think we're that creative, unfortunately. I think that if you can see it that vividly, and if you can feel it that strongly, it means that, like, it already happened. And what you're seeing in your brain is just a future memory. And I think the process of reality creation is constantly reminding yourself of that it's, if you've seen it in your mind and you felt it in your body, that means that it's possible. Not only is it possible, but it's already happened, and you just saw a future memory, and everything that you're doing and everything that's happening is now just taking you towards that future memory. And the future memory is essentially the desire, right? And the desire, like, get it being fulfilled, the desire coming true. And I think that that's a beautiful way of looking at reality creation. It's certainly been the way that I have been looking at reality creation as of late, and it's completely changed my perspective on things, because the things that I've wanted have come to me a lot faster than I could have possibly imagined, and a lot easier and a lot quicker. And the changes that I'm seeing within myself are, like, happening at such a rapid pace that, like, I don't think I could have made all of these things happen through brute force. I think it's just that I was able to connect to a future memory so strongly that, like, now that future memory is, like, pulling me towards it. And once I get there, then I will, like, have my desire. But until then, it's just a process of, like, keeping that state of the wish fulfilled, living in that reality and knowing that that was real, and not wavering, not checking if it's working, not checking how long is it going to take anymore, just staying in the state of the wish fulfilled, I guess, as Neville calls it, and believing that what you saw was real and it was a future memory that, like, hasn't happened yet but will happen. And you're just, like, shifting your self-concept enough to get yourself to that future memory. That's really all how I see manifestation and reality creation these days. And it's been life-changing. Like, it's been a complete game changer for me, because I no longer feel the need to force anything to happen. I no longer feel the need to do anything or to force my opinion on anybody. And I think that's just because, like, the image that I saw in my head is more real to me than reality, and nobody can convince me otherwise. Like, nobody can come in here and tell me that, like, my desire isn't a future memory, because, like, I know that it is. And that's like taken off a lot of pressure. And so that's how I've been approaching desires and reality creation. And so if this kind of video and these kinds of topics are interesting to you, then you would definitely love my book that I just published. It's called Mastering the Middle, and you can find it on Amazon. This book is about how to close the gap between where you are and where you want to be, and what to do from the time that you have set a goal or set a desire to the time that you get it, and how to fill that space, because the middle is not supposed to be a passive time where you wait around for stuff to happen. The middle is a very active time in our lives, and this book talks you through what to do between the time that you set a goal and the time that you receive your desire. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'll leave the link in the description box below. And thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.